Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you're at, whatever time it is. Thank you for tapping in. Welcome to the Crypto Casuals community. I am Stubby.
And I'm Kelly. Welcome, casuals.
Today, we have another concept video. We're going to be breaking down centralized exchanges. So let's get right into it. A centralized exchange is a platform created and run by a company. The company oversees all the transactions on the platform and it sets the exchange rules and fees. The centralized exchange also custodies the assets that are bought on its platform unless the individual sends those assets to their cold storage wallet.
So tell you a little bit about when the actual first centralized exchange actually opened up. And the name of that exchange was actually bitcoinmarket.com. It actually opened up in March 17 of 2010. Some of the top exchanges today would be Coinbase, Binance, Kraken, crypto.com, etc.
So the reason why people use centralized exchanges is to on-ramp their fiat currency, which fiat just simply means government issued money. But individuals use centralized exchanges to on-ramp their fiat currency into digital assets. And they also use centralized exchanges to off-ramp digital assets into fiat currency or even cash. We also use centralized exchanges to trade, buy, sell, swap, or convert digital assets. And some use centralized exchanges for trust-based custody, typically because it has a smoother user experience and user interface than a traditional self-custody wallet.
Here are some different use cases for centralized exchanges, or it's just some different reasons you would actually use a centralized exchange. One being to actually purchase or sell crypto. That would be you actually come to a centralized exchange, or it would be a decentralized exchange, are basically one of the main two ways to actually purchase crypto. So you would come to buy or sell. Also, a centralized exchange acts as a custodian. They would actually hold your coin for you, kind of like a bank. Last but not least, matched orders appear against the exchange itself rather than between users, meaning when you sell your coin or you buy your coin, the person you're buying it from, it doesn't actually appear as you're buying it from somebody. It's they sell to the exchange and you buy from the exchange to provide a layer of security between the purchaser and seller.
A centralized exchange essentially acts as a digital marketplace. Users come and simultaneously transact, trying to buy, sell, and send the same assets. Centralized exchanges directly participate in markets by clearing trades. So they keep a digital order book, which is a list of buy or open buy and sell orders with volume and price. And as Kelly said, they match buyers and sellers and they show the current market prices based on the last price that the asset was sold for.
And a little bit of background information about centralized exchanges. So I'm actually going to tell you about one of the founding of one of the earlier exchanges in Mt. Gox, who at one time was actually handling 70% of all Bitcoin transactions around the world. They were actually hacked in late February of 2014. So a hacker actually used the credentials from a Mt. Gox auditor's computer in whatever complicated, sophisticated way that they did that. And they actually ended up stealing 647,000 Bitcoin from Mt. Gox. Some of the main perpetrators who've been convicted are Billy Yuchenko and Alexander Werner. Their convictions actually happened in the past 5 years, which is pretty interesting. All right, so we just spoke enough about general information about centralized exchanges and a little bit of good and bad about it. And let's tell you a little more about the cons. For starters, trust is one. We also have ownership, followed by hackers, which could be a big problem. And we even have the question of centralization, if that's even a good thing for you personally.
And a relevant example of all four of these cons happening in one event would be FTX. FTX was the second largest crypto exchange on the planet when it collapsed. And when it collapsed, at this point in time, the number is at roughly $10 billion in customers' assets that were lost fraudulently due to bad activity, if you will. And that comes as a result of putting your trust in a centralized exchange, the ownership not being in your hands, because with digital assets, you have the right to self custody naturally. You can obtain your own self custody cold storage wallet. We actually made a video on cold storage wallets, and you can store your own assets in a way that they cannot be touched unless somebody has access to your intellectual property, which is essentially what you keep in your mind. When you put your assets on exchange, or you rely on a centralized exchange to store your assets, they are naturally at risk of something like that. And unfortunately, when things like this happen, where there's bad actors and a lot of people put their trust in them and they get exposed because on blockchain, you can see everything. Things happen like Bitcoin going from 24,000 to 15,000 in 2 days. That happened as a result of FTX. We've since seen Bitcoin recover and it's gone all the way up to 31,500. The market is going to move on because blocks are going to continue to be mined. But it's important that when it comes to having a centralized exchange account, that you utilize that in a responsible way. I mean, we personally recommend storing your crypto asset on a cold storage wallet. Obviously, that is not financial advice, that's just logical. Some of the reasons why people use centralized exchanges to store their assets is because it usually does have a smoother user experience and user interface, and it's easier to operate than a cold storage wallet.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're basically left with a few options. You can either self-custody, take the centralized exchange route, which we've just explained to you about in detail, or you can take the decentralized exchange route, which we will explain about to you in detail coming soon. Choose wisely.
Once again, thank you for tapping in. Welcome to the Crypto Casualist community. Like, comment, and subscribe for more content. Obviously, this wasn't financial advice. Peace.
Peace.